Intro music. Yeah. No, we need to get better intro music, but this is what we got.
Some music.
Yeah, so we're back here at the warehouse with myself, Conor Ahearn. You can find me at Conor Ahearn on pretty much all social media except Twitter. And Peter, introduce yourself again.
My name is Peter. You can find me on all social medias with Peter Calcaterra.
Yeah. You want to spell that for them? Because I can barely spell your name.
Calcaterra.
Right on. And we got Christian over here.
You can find me on most social media platforms, primarily Instagram. And that's Coskarli.
Yeah, you need to step up that YouTube game, man.
Yeah. Come on.
But yeah, I mean, last time Peter and I were talking about the C8 Corvette, and we actually, all three of us, filmed a podcast together not too long ago, but we didn't really have the setup quite nailed at that point. The audio wasn't synced with the camera, so that's kind of where we're at with going at this one. And
We need some claps in here.
Oh, yes, we...
Sync it.
hold on, what is the applause? There we go.
There we go.
Happy audience, happy audience. But yeah, so today I kind of figured we would talk about being like entrepreneurs, because coincidentally, we all work for ourselves. And I mean, I guess that's how we can sit here on a weekday afternoon and film a podcast with a small audience base.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is my favorite part about being an entrepreneur, is you can do little shit like this randomly whenever you want.
Exactly. I mean,
Almost.
I mean, once you have something committed on the schedule, that's when it's like...
That's the only thing you're doing for like however long you're doing it.
Exactly. Usually, it's a nose to the grindstone, and your friends are like, where'd you go for a month? You're
Pretty
like,
much me at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude.
I'm in the middle of a shirt order and I just left.
Yeah, so I mean, like, certainly not like being ageist in any way, but you're a few years behind Christian and I.
Turned 20 yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So happy belated birthday. Yeah, I mean, dude, we're over here aging. What were you doing? Just being young? Like...
No, found a youth. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah. So, Peter, what do you do here? I mean, what do you do like as an entrepreneur?
So I started a company 3 years ago called Detroit Decals. It was really just like selling to the local car scene. You know, I just made Instagram handles, Snapchat.
Selling to the local car scene.
Yeah, pretty much. Woodward.
I'm sure Woodward loves lots of drugs. Selling to the local car scene.
Yeah,
Is that what you're doing? Is that what your parents thought you were doing at least?
That's what my parents thought I was doing when I was coming home with like $300 to $600 every single weekend in cash from just randomly going out.
Just from doing like stickers for people, Instagram handles.
Windshield banners, you name it, I made it. And then I got shut down on Woodward. They told me they wanted a commission of my sales through selling through their group. And I said no, and then they kicked me off.
Oh, like the Woodward
group.
The Facebook group.
Yes, the Facebook group.
So to clarify to anyone that's not in the Michigan car scene, there is a very, interesting,
out of hand,
interesting car group known as the Woodward Car Group, and it pretty much just reflects the nightly
really
shenanigans, or kind of like the.
Normally say it's just like a Facebook group. It's not like a
it's not an organized like hangout
Yeah.
group. It's just meme commenters.
yes.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
And like one person will say like meet up at Potbelly on Woodward, the street, not the group. And then, you know, like 4 hours later there'll be like 100 people there, but it was never like official.
Potbellies wasn't a thing anymore. I thought that like got
They like still try to make it a thing, but it's not. I haven't even been to Woodward once this summer, to be honest. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, every time somebody said, hey, meet up at Potbellies, that's where we're all hanging out. There's been like 8 cars there.
You'd get there and then everyone's already gone, or they usually go up to Staples.
Yeah,
now.
Staples is like the other place, but I thought they also were like no more.
I think Woodward's just going down the tube because the cops aren't really having it anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean no one was really spending that much money over there to drive the economy for that. So I mean, everyone's kind of just like, hey, we're sick of your burnouts at midnight. And
see, when I went, I spent money. Like usually, I ate dinner at Potbellies. If I went to Woodward, I almost 90% of the time ate dinner at Potbellies.
Yeah, I strategically would have a receipt for something.
Oh, I'd always do. I'd go buy a drink or something. Just so the cop would try to kick up, like, look, I paid.
Yeah, but I mean...
Or I went to Starbucks. Like, I usually bought something because I get where the businesses are coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely used to go there more when I was in college. But now that I actually graduated to have a life to like maintain, I can't just picture going to Woodward every weekend.
I think we should just do it one weekend.
film a vlog.
Film a vlog, group vlog.
Yeah.
To be honest, there is, for people who haven't heard of Woodward or seen Woodward or been there, the Facebook group is actually modeled after a road, and it's, 3-4 lanes wide?
Yeah,
Two-way,
it's a
each way.
Divided highway.
road. Like think of like a 1950s like cruise.
Right, and that's basically what it's like every single day, usually on the weekends, but even during
the
the
summer.
week. It's
In
in
the
the
Oh,
summer.
if you're in the
correct,
summer,
correct.
like, so I work with my dad part-time once in a while. Not really anymore. And I used to have to drive up now Woodward because he had locations on Woodward. And 911 Turbo, Huracan, 570S, just like, just cruising around like it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
Almost every day of the week.
yeah. So, like, I guess getting back to the point of entrepreneurship, besides talking about the memes of Woodward and its origins. So you were making like close to $600, $700 a week just going out to Woodward
And selling random stickers, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And now, since that all stopped, I kind of been going after businesses, doing more professional way of business, you could say. And instead of me just going on Facebook saying, hey, who wants an Instagram handle this weekend? Hit me up.
Yeah. Now you have was it Detroit Decals?
Detroit Decals, and I kind of want to change the name because I do a lot more than decals now.
Yeah. I mean,
I do screen printing, vinyl wraps, wall graphics, you name it, I can pretty much get it done.
okay. Yeah. And then Christian, what about you, man?
I am a photographer, videographer. This page has not been updated in a very long time, but
Fair enough. I noticed that. I mean, October 8th.
yeah. So in the process of different types of rebranding and things like that, had a venture with a partner for a little while that just didn't end up going through. We're all like fine and dandy and everything, but just complications didn't allow it to sort of go through. So my branding is sort of stuck between a couple different things right now. But this is some of my automotive work from quite a while ago. There's Connor.
Oh yeah.
And
Beating Parker.
yeah. the highlight of that day.
Yes. That was my highlight.
Right.
at
Yes.
least.
Exactly. But I also run a collaborative production company, essentially, where I bring together other creators and content creators, videographers, photographers, specialists, all sorts of people like that for jobs that are bigger, but not so big that they're going to go to, like Hollywood level production, essentially. So we can bring a lot better, more specific, more tailored, more accurate work, but still utilizing the sort of younger content creator type person and pricing, essentially.
So are you still working under an LLC handle there? Or are you working under yourself and kind of getting the clients under your own name?
I'm under my other LLC, which I have basically I did a soft launch under this company called Nord Media, but I am basically that was what I made with my other partner. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot of brand identity that was shared between the two of us and how we were basically planning on doing everything. So I'm going to probably not end up going with that name. So although I do have that LLC and I run everything through it still right now,
You're going to be restructuring.
I'm going to be restructuring essentially. Yeah. Doing another soft launch and then eventually a hard launch. But I still am doing business the whole time throughout. So it's just basically the branding and sort of before I go full throttle advertisement type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I myself working here with my warehouse and everything like that, I mean, it's hard to get everything completely organized to launch. Like, this is going to be a design consultancy and doing similar work to yourself, but I mean, more product design focused rather than media focused. It's one of those things where you're like, all right, I've got this step done. Now need to get that step done. And it's a whole domino effect of if you change one decision, it backtracks like crazy. Yep. And, where you suddenly realize, that a name you're feeling doesn't really work so well. And your brand image just starts having to meet a redevelopment.
Yeah. When changes happen at a smaller, younger company level, it changes so many more things than it would. There's more decisions to be made whenever there's.
It's not Dunkin' Donuts going to Dunkin'.
Right.
It is you launching a new company, a new identity almost.
Right. Whenever it's still in the stage where it is for myself at least. Yeah. It can be one small to medium sized thing all of a sudden is significantly larger just because it affects more things. And effectively, you can change more things and be more agile while it's smaller. So if something changes, it basically, a lot of times I'll sort of take that, see what I can learn from it, and then change it. Figure out how I need to change it instead of maybe just changing one small thing. Do I need to change a lot of stuff? And it's something that I can do, so it's something that I look into.
I mean, that's something that I definitely learned even way back when I first started like one of my first ventures in high school, I think, was a apparel company. And after submitting some of my work to larger companies and having that work, frankly, just flat out stolen, it was one of those lessons where, you know, you don't just make some adjustments on that company end. You're better off scratching up, like, or just starting new face of a company, new brand image. Because, I mean, if you were on par for your, you know, items to get stolen, but if you're such a small company, they're just going to keep going in that cycle of like, hey, remember that company we stole from and they didn't really do anything?
We're going to do it again.
We're just going to keep doing that. Mm-hmm. They got some good stuff.
Right. They're clearly following you if they've been looking at
but
your
it's
stuff
also,
and using
it's flattery in some way of like, okay, clearly attention was right with the level of aesthetic approach.
Right. You're obviously doing something that a larger company who's more established recognizes has potential and real, you know, value.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's good and bad news, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, me now as an adult, I probably would have like pursued that, but 14, 15-year-old me trying to stand ground against a store that's large enough to be in most malls in America, I'm not going to argue with them.
Right. So I feel like with everything that we do as sort of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things that can be, especially early on, there's a lot of things that can kind of go awry where a lot of times when your friends, supporters, or other clients, whenever you're at a smaller level, don't quite understand the, you know, certain things such as like, I'm sure, like you know, not getting your full credit for, you know, work that you've done.
That's really annoying.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Exactly. Or like in my case, I've had where people will use my photos for prints and advertisements and things like that were never part of the original deal for an underpaid gig that was already, you know, there. So you know, it's like if you throw somebody a bone and then they don't really quite understand
that you threw them a bone,
right?
You give them an inch, they take a mile.
Right. Exactly. And I don't think that there's any ill intent there, but you know, especially if they say, "Oh, there's so much exposure here," but if my name's not on it, it's not exposure. It's just a cool photo that you're using,
and you're not going to call me back,
right? So nobody's going to figure out that it's my work.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, the person that you're working for likely has someone to answer to themselves, and they're trying to pitch as much of that material as their own idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you know, and sometimes people just think this is content that we paid for, and so we can always just use it no matter how, you know. And if there's no hardcore contract, that is technically legal, but there's just a lot of things where print rights versus digital completely different. Using something for large scale advertising
that's really not enforced.
And it's especially not enforced if you're doing work between, like, in a smaller knit group where you know the people and you feel like a very bulletproof hardcore contract would be
kind of
overkill or awkward. Exactly. So there's a little bit of that, and then, you know, nooks and crannies is what we do, I think. But
I mean, yeah, that's like, for instance, I do rental properties, and renting out to friends is difficult, and I try never to do it. But with design work, it's almost interwoven. You end up having to do design work, whether it's for a friend or with a friend, or someone you like went to school with. It's really hard to escape that. So you're just factoring that in the whole time of figuring out, like, what's this person's agenda day to day? How am I going to deal with them? If I throw them a bone, are they going to, you know, throw it back and, you know, reciprocate?
Yeah. And I think if you're sitting here sort of wondering, okay, well, how do I help somebody who's like this? Well, then I think probably the number one thing to do is not necessarily, I mean, always show other people, share exposure, repost what they're posting, things like that if you really want to help somebody out. But the most I've ever been helped is when somebody, even maybe that I don't know that well, refers me to a job. Or
referrals are the biggest thing.
It's insane. Like if somebody, I mean, I've had jobs where, I mean, some of the biggest names I've ever shot for, just off of one person who, you know, recognized my work, liked it, and they would just work for this company, and just on a whim, they just put my name in the book. And if you
cocktail party referrals are the strongest.
Absolutely.
Even on like Facebook, like
mean,
4
Facebook.
times a day I'll get tagged, like, because there'll be someone's like, hey, I need stickers made, I need t-shirts made. Like, a lot of my other customers, they'll start tagging me, like, a lot. And you even see that when people are like, hey, I need it wrapped. You notice, like, which customers go to which shop.
I think that's how like
and get
most
tagged.
decal, vinyl, wrap shops really get business because
It is.
it's a brick and mortar for the most part. I mean, you're just stuck dealing with the factor of like, what am I really going to do to get business in here other than people telling others that
Well, that's why
they
I
did
have-
good work.
That's why I work with dealerships now.
Exactly.
They're a monthly thing. They need this many stickers every single month, no questions asked. Deliver it on the 1st, here's your check.
Right.
And that's like
100%.
actual business. It's not just random people. Reoccurring business. That's what you always want.
Yes, exactly. Steady is better than just having, one large gig. It's always better if you have even
Steady 5
significantly
gigs.
less money, but for exactly steady amount of time, guaranteed work that you can fit into your schedule, especially if it's flexible. Phenomenal. So
Yeah. So prior to photography, though, what were you doing? Did you have an entrepreneurial spirit prior, or was
Yeah.
photography your first kind of like?
So I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial type thing about me. I don't know if it's just because I don't like working for people or if it's just that I really enjoy it.
I think that's
it's
kind of the
both.
mixture of what creates an entrepreneur. And rather than something that is like, entrepreneurship like seems to be a hot topic right now, or I'm going to go
I don't
into
know if you
business.
didn't see that. That was a drastic eye roll that I.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been approached by people at, parties or car events or whatever. They're like, hey, man, how do I do what you do? It's like, oh, I feel like if you're asking that question, you might have already missed the mark at a childhood age.
Right.
Because, I mean,
Or
everyone...
at least don't understand how it is. you
Yeah,
know?
because it's really not that hard to understand it.
Right.
Put more hours in than most people are working.
And make more money.
And you're going to make more money.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, it takes a
Perfect your
level
craft.
of success. I mean, or like effort and luck. Because I mean, you can have a great design. For instance, let's just like look at the fashion industry or just like clothing brands. Like you can have some great stuff, but there's so much competition out there that it's kind of like the art market where like if you have some friends with clout or wealth behind them and they get your product, it's probably going to do well for you.
Well,
Right. Absolutely.
with like clothing brands, I know this because I've tried to start one. That's how I actually got into this business. But now with like, what do you call it? Drop shipping.
Yeah,
anyone
Shopify and-
can start a brand for like, honestly, like under $500.
And not a whole lot of risk either. with
Oh, no
dropshipping.
risk. I've
Yeah.
started like when I was really trying to do it. I tried like 3 of them. You get a $15 domain off Shopify, $30 a month. You buy like 4 or 5 pieces of your own stuff off your own website. So you can take Instagram photos. You have no inventory. They do everything for you. They ship everything for you, and you just pay $30 a month for your website. And it's like that easy to start a brand right now.
And
Yeah.
then the rest is up to you basically on how much the right products and how fast you can move them with advertising and marketing and all sorts of stuff like that.
It's
So-
crazy right now how easy it is.
I mean, that's one of those things where so many people were making money on it on the low key, and then it really became a hot topic and shared, and now being like articles written about like people, retail arbitraging, where they'll go buy products at like Walmart and sell it for more on Amazon. And I mean, there's always ways to make money, but you have to have that, entrepreneurial spirit.
You need the drive.
Yeah, and there's definitely a little bit of most entrepreneurs that I've met have a little bit of this. Why not? Let's just go do it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's a
I
lot
mean,
of that, like a little impulsivity.
You
Well,
have to
it's
have
me
a
all the
little
time.
Elon Musk on your shoulder being like, why not?
Right. Let's just go do it.
Yeah, like
Right.
if not
Now.
if not you, who else?
Right.
And why wait for someone else to do it?
Right. A little bit like we just had friends over the other night over to your place. Obviously,
Yeah.
we saw podcasting stuff. Nobody even knew anything about it. We're just like, why the hell not? Let's just sit down and start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that you don't have anybody who's entrepreneurial in the group, especially, or if you don't have more than one person who's entrepreneurial in a group, that those things won't happen as much.
Yeah, it's hard to get that to work, and that's I think that really weeds out friend groups as adults. Like if your friend group from growing up really isn't entrepreneurial, and you yourself are an entrepreneur, it's really not that big of a deal if you fade out from them. It's good to have them around once in a while, but you're not gonna socially understand each other that much anymore as adults.
Well, it's also just like good to surround yourself with like-minded individuals.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many cliches to make about that statement, but it really is true of like you are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with.
100%.
And if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, but all your friends are sitting at home playing video games all day and not being smart about it, and you're thinking, why aren't we streaming all of this and making money off of Twitch where we could just be personalities or something? Then maybe you should just go find some like-minded friends or force your friends to become like you.
Right. Yeah. And force may be an aggressive term, but it's not all the way out.
Okay, a little push.
Yeah.
A little push.
A little push. Yeah.
Little
influence.
Okay, so some liquid courage and a good podcast setup or streaming setup, they'll naturally walk in.
You got to give them a little taste.
A little something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, you were always doing something around.
Yeah, so in high school, I did phone repair and iPod repair basically before it was a big thing. Before there was one on every single street corner.
Exactly. Before you could almost do it at 7-Eleven.
Right, and right as I started to get into college, there was a little bit of a crossroads where I absolutely could have started to get into a little further. Maybe start a storefront, some things like that. But it just wasn't something that I was super passionate about, and the market started to really, really drive up. Prices went down, competition everywhere.
It was kind of a cool thing to do to make money while at school, but really not worth like investing farther into.
Exactly, but
a little side hustle.
Yeah,
but I got the taste of designing a logo, making my business cards, doing this and doing that, and like coming up with ideas on how to get your name out and all this type of thing. And that's really what started to kickstart my sort of like thought processes and I don't know about thought. I kind of always had the same type of mentality, but it gave me a little bit of a taste, and it was something that I think I found kind of intoxicating, and I found it really, really thrilling, and it's something that I couldn't go back from.
Yeah. No, I mean, as soon as I've like got my first venture going, I was like, whoa. Why would I work for someone else other than to learn a skill set?
Right.
Exact same thing.
I've had various jobs over the years, but it's always revolved around me learning something new or gaining a little bit of credibility in the occupation that I'm working in.
Right.
Like for instance, when I was doing videography work, I mean, just saying I'm a videographer doesn't have much merit versus, I've filmed with pro athletes such as X, Y, and Z, and here's the footage from that. Check it out. It's pretty rad. And then it's like, you have some ground in this. I mean, you have some like water here.
And that's really, I think, the main part. Whenever people, ask any sort of advice on sort of doing the whole photography thing, my first advice just automatically goes to the entrepreneurial side. Yeah. Like photography, although there is an art, there's a skill, you have to be the right person to do it and everything, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's brain surgery. It's not any sort of it's really not. You can pick it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most people, not everybody, but if you put your mind to it, you can pick it up and you can do well. But the thing that people miss is the entrepreneurial side. It's the side that
the hustle,
how you grind, and how you set your things up and how you target what you're going to do and the way that you do it. And those
understanding
types of things.
your niche market that you're going to jump on rather than just being like, I'm a photographer.
Right.
That's the thing in the car scene's almost like being an entrepreneur is the cool thing now. Everyone goes through almost their photographer phase in the car scene. Like you see
historically as a trend, it goes through a cycle. For a while, it was cool to be an entrepreneur. Then it wasn't. You don't have a job.
Entrepreneur was synonymous for unemployed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what our parents were growing up, typically.
Exactly. And right now, it's a hot topic. But that's with a generation where if you ask an 8th grader, what do you want to do when you grow up? They're gonna say I want to be a YouTuber.
Yep.
Which means interwovenly that they want to be good at photography. They want to be good at videography, and they want to understand social media, know how to hack, socially,
or they have
engineer.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I just realized I cut you off a little bit.
Or they're trying to be a master of so many trades just with that one statement. Where I don't think the majority of them even see that.
That's what I was going to say exactly. Is I don't either they want to do all those things or they have no idea that you have to do those things.
I think it's one of those things that similar to how, like, for instance, my dad wanted to be a car designer when he grew up, but he, like, when he was growing up, he was told that, like, pretty much you had to just, like, be an engineer to do that. So he was like, like, I'll be an architect. I like that more. So, like, when you think one way is like, because they're told like, oh, all you have to do is just like pick up a camera and post.
Right.
So they're
true.
thinking.
A lot of YouTubers just say that.
Yeah, and you know that's because coming from people that made it in a 4 years ago, maybe even a little bit more, was like the gold rush of YouTube. That's when people were like already out on the West Coast and struck gold before people already had to rush over in caravans. Like people were already there posting stuff for free and suddenly started making money. And so like now you hear, I guess the input from those people or opinions from those people, and they're like, oh, all you have to do is post because all I have to do is post and I just keep making money.
Right.
And I make a new channel and all I do is post on it. It's like,
right.
Yeah, because you have an interwoven fan base of like, even if you have 100,000 followers and have a poor following, you're still going to get 10% of those people to go over to any new channel or like platform that you create, unless if you're a butt model.
Right. Exactly.
Like, because no one really cares.
Yeah. Well, except for, I mean, I'm sure there's a certain market of people who really, really care. About that.
I mean, like, there's
not the
there's a
majority,
few people that come to mind when it's like, okay, they cross over with music and kind of being that whole butt model Instagram thing.
Yeah.
But like, even with creating content with my fiance, we have to be careful about like, oh, that was a little risque. Like, we definitely don't want that brand image. Like,
right.
I mean, like, I have family members like that, like, it's a little awkward when it's like, hey, I got a small channel and you just saw my fiance's butt. Like, like there's not like the income behind that. So
Right.
like there's some awkwardness.
Yeah.
here or there.
Definitely.
Especially with YouTubing and things like that, there's the biggest issue with most of that type of thing is clickbait. And like, clickbait.
Peter knows all about clickbait, saying he's buying a Lamborghini when he goes to a car meet.
Didn't work though, so only got 95 views.
Yeah, people are over clickbait.
Yeah. I think people started to figure it out. And
People want authenticity.
people want it. Really, authenticity goes a really long way from everything I've studied and like makes sense.
Yeah, and that's like the awkward part when you're like trying to be authentic, but it's also like you're competing with so many people that are showing inauthentic lives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And or you're accused of living an inauthentic life when you're like, no, this is what I do.
You never went on the internet.
What?
You never went on the internet. Someone will always tell you you're wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, the internet is filled with trolls, and I mean, for the most part, it's pretty funny. But like, if you can't roll with the punches, like
I
you're
don't care
pretty
what people
screwed.
say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, at one point though, I assume comments get brutal.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look at some people's videos, there'll be like hate comments, and you're like, wow, these people must be actually like screwed in the head for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like with being a guy, like, you'll get occasional someone that's like, screw you or whatever, something hostile, but like not to the level that girls get. Girls have a weird time trying to be entrepreneurs these days because it's, they're trying to, I guess, somewhat, I don't want to say sell themselves, but the brand imagery has to be somewhat appealing.
and absolutely. And as far as, I mean, I've seen plenty of girls who are trying to get famous on Instagram for so long, didn't really go a whole lot anywhere. They're growing,
Yeah.
but they started at 2,000 followers and they're at 4,000, and then they started posting pictures of their butt, and
They're suddenly at like
No.
10,000.
yeah, like
Yeah.
exactly. Suddenly at 10,000 and now 30,000, and we're talking like 6 months ago they were at 4,000.
Yeah. I mean, I had a interesting.
Sex sells.
What's that?
Sex sells.
It
Oh
absolutely
no, it
does.
absolutely does. I mean, many years ago in college, I had a relationship where I created a social media, pretty much I guess pretty much character, but I don't want to be insulting because I feel like this person pretty much has like absorbed it as herself. Like it has become, that's whom she is. So like I don't really want to like create crazy insult about it, but it's like her and I sat down and like brainstormed what this persona would be.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I mean, her and I like, built it up while her and I were together. And then afterwards, it was just like interesting watching it grow from my business plan pretty much. And I was just like, oh, finally doing that only like 3 years too late. And it's like, some people are really good at figuring it out, but naturally, if you're a pretty girl, it kind of just starts flowing if you take enough enticing photos.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a guy, it's like, I could post my Huracan and like all sorts of stuff, and people are like, "Nope, you're a loser." And it's like, yeah, I agree with you if I'm posting this much stuff, just trying to get like interest.
Yeah.
But Peter,
Again, second time in a row.
but I mean, that's it's the weird phase of Instagram where I think things are gonna go through a new change where like they're already testing it in Canada where people aren't seeing how many likes photos have and
It's
stuff like
weird.
that. I'm not sure I like that.
It's strange. I mean, I don't know or really care how much I like it per se, but the thing that I'm really interested to see how it plays out, I guess, is there's an actual value to the like. That there's you could monetize.
You can buy them. There's a
for real.
price for anything.
Right. Then you can literally buy likes. They can be a form of, the more likes you have, that's engagement on your post. And then you can advertise from that. You can sell that.
The scary thing is sometimes that like approach isn't even like inauthentic. Sometimes it's really just trying to provoke the algorithm where like, if you are looking at it from the standpoint of once I break this threshold of likes on it, it's naturally getting flowed into more audiences. As long as those aren't coming from bot likes or anything like that, it's a really weird.
It's an exponential path.
Yeah, it's a really like weird catch-21 or whatever the phrase is, because it's like you don't want to be fake and inauthentic and be like, oh, I'm buying likes, but then it's like, well, at one point, like, are you investing in your brand growing and then making money off of that leveraged brand identity? Or like, because people like really go with that whole concept of like trying to be authentic, but interwovenly being like, buy my merch. And it's like, that's pretty inauthentic. Like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, there's, some people that are like actually creating real content, like clothing companies where it's like, oh, that's some sweet stuff, I would definitely buy that. But
right.
Like, you don't want to be a Jake Pauler out there.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's probably a little bit like there's certain small disconnects that I might have in the YouTube world because I just don't watch vlogs. I just don't care typically about random people's like the entire day,
Yeah, I used to be, and that's slowly going away. In high school, I'd watch.
Well, it's the reality
10 people.
TV interest.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it makes
I
total sense. I understand why that's attractive to some people, but I personally just don't find the interest in it.
There's some vlogs that I definitely watch where I'm just like, wow, your cinematic value into this, I'm intrigued by, because I myself film some vlogs once in a while, but it's like, I do some pretty cool stuff. I go on supercar rallies and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, this is worth filming not only for like the sake of having it for myself, of like looking at it in the future, because I actually do.
And that's, yeah. And I could see that being like really, really cool. Like to go back, no matter how, honestly, like it could be 2 years from now, or it could be 45 years from now, going back and looking at like
It'll bring back
a
the
detail.
memories.
It would be amazing. Like that's,
think about like
a lot of value.
Like our parents are about the same age. Like I'm sure you've seen photos of your dad in like the 70s.
Right. And
you're like, whoa.
there's
I've seen some
interesting.
photos.
there's like 12 of them. Yeah. Like I've seen like 12 photos.
Meanwhile, like if you think about it, like if I'm lucky enough to have kids, like the situation will be that they'll be looking at videos of their dad, like whether good or for bad, there's gonna be cool videos of myself where like there's some memory.
You'll think it's
like,
sweet, but they'll think it's embarrassing.
Oh yeah, I hope they just don't find the bad stuff.
Well, yeah, if it's like, look at this, you got like 5 views on that, like that's embarrassing. But like,
I think I'm curious to see what happens with like Snapchat memories and things like that. When you're, 50 and there's like the photo album, it'll be all digital. You're not going to have, you could have a photo album because if you're kind of old timey or if you just really like the physical thing.
It's really going to be just a digital thing.
Yeah. And if you want to, or like,
you can scroll back so far.
And
I feel bad for the amount of generations that are going to be like, well, yeah, here's a photo of my dad tripping on Molly, and I wonder why I have IQ problems. Not to shame anyone that's partying too hard, but that's not my thing.
Yeah.
There's definitely that downside of like, wow, Mom, you really partied it out in Vegas that one weekend on July 4th, 2012.
Shows you the exact,
at 6:30 p.m. at the Wynn.
Yeah,
wow, I know exactly where you were. No lying to me about that one.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of the thing is everybody has parent stories. Like their parents tell them stories, like glory stories or whatever.
Yeah, but
my
now there's
parents
gonna
have
be so much truth to them.
So much truth. Like they can't fib it.
There's
and their memory can't fib it either, because memory will.
That's the cool
literally
thing about moving forward,
deceiving.
where memory is such a implementation of your visual creation of what you have in your mind over time, because you're remembering it. You're not really remembering that event.
Exactly.
Well, if you talk to my old uncle, every story he has over the top, and you're like, dude, there's no way you're alive.
Yeah,
it's like, stop lying.
So here's a couple points. In my lifetime, I've heard great stories from my parents. Typically, like my mom has really great stories, but over time, I'm trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and like even over my lifetime, I think that I remember the stories changing a little bit, but it could just be that my memory is changing them as well, or it could be hers. It doesn't matter. But in the future, we're gonna have play-by-plays. Play-by-plays
exactly
of everything that happens, and I kind of like that, because I just feel like I've been fortunate enough to have a pretty rich life, like experience rich life.
Yeah,
and so I have a lot of stories that I know for a fact people don't believe.
Oh yeah, dude, I literally have video of experience, like watching a motorcyclist drive up and down the stairs of the BMW History Museum in Munich. Like, you try to tell that story and they're like, that didn't happen.
Right.
And you're like, no, I got video of it.
Yeah. No, like it's here. Let me spend 4 hours to try to find it, but
but
10 years ago,
it's like
10 years,
yeah, but it's crazy, because it's not like, oh yeah, remember that time that Dad went to Europe? What do you think he actually did? It's like, oh God, I hope you don't find those photos. Like,
there's gonna be some encryption going on.
Well, good luck beating out whatever genius hack stuff that future generation.
You gotta really stay at the forefront of that.
Well, they're gonna be Neuralinked up.
We got to do a podcast on Neuralink eventually. We
probably should try to do a whole Elon Musk podcast.
I just watched his Neuralink.
Who's your biggest entrepreneurial inspiration, or like set of inspirations? You don't map this out like me? I map this out. I'm pretty weird.
I don't have a lot, but I have a few. One of them is Ken Block.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. My drift car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
My RC car.
Yeah. One is Ken Block. One is Yoon Olsen.
Yep. God damn.
Yep. I know we have very similar stuff.
No, Christian and I have a very awkward situation in life where we're just getting to really know each other as friends. We've known each other for a few years now, like socially. But coincidentally, we couldn't look like each other at all, but every similarity possible in social structure, our birthdays are even relatively within the same month.
Right.
So it's just a little like, okay.
Yeah, we'll show up and we end up wearing not quite the same sunglasses, but almost the exact same sunglasses.
Or no, better yet, at your house party, I showed up wearing an inverted version of your shirt.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. So inverted version of his shirt. I think we were wearing like the same outfit pretty much, other than that.
Yeah, I think we had
the same like same sunglasses, and it was just like,
this is getting strange. Yeah.
This looks weird.
Right. Which one of us is creeping on the other?
Yeah, like
But
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's not like that, but it's
yeah,
just
no,
like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Like the more we start to figure out about each other, it's sort of the similarities keep
Yeah.
coming in.
So like
but
Ken Block, Elon Olsen.
Ken Block, Olsen, Elon Musk definitely is extraordinarily intriguing to me. And I think that his ambition and like his direction is absolutely mind-boggling, and I love watching that, and I really like being inspired by it. I haven't like put the words in my head that he is a role model to myself. So I would have to explore that more. But
I could second that.
yeah,
To me personally, he's one of those characters that serves as, I'm glad there's people like him. And I think we're
Tony Stark.
lucky to live in a generation that has him, because people go generations without having that.
absolutely.
Because, it goes like Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Musk.
No, I was going to say Edison, but
Edison.
but Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. Edison, Tesla.
The original Tesla.
Yeah, there was great thinkers, but there's only a handful of them amongst that 100 years that we just
Right.
And 200 years.
Right, and he's going to be. He's going to be up there with like.
He's going to push us to a new forefront. I think in the next 10 years.
Well, he's just been blowing minds left and right.
Well, and the thing that I like about it is he's taking ideas that, as a product designer and conceptual designer, I've had and thought about, and because they're not groundbreaking things. They're just him being a smart guy, being like, yeah, why hasn't someone done this? Because that's what every designer does. They're like, hey, we got a lot of cars on the surface. We can't go upwards because of air traffic, visual, and pollution. What if we went subterranean? That's like not that mind blowing, but his solutions
Everything, it's like
to
a subway, but cars. It's
but his solution to it is mathematically unfounded by other people. He like the way that he will re-engineer the solution to go about it. Like for instance, with the tunneling, he cut the time to like make that length of tunnel by like the statistical average of like current machinery in like half or something, and then half again.
Absolutely.
So like,
yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like the speed at which he does it is half of what's absolutely mind blowing. Is you hear about this tunnel thing happening, and all of a sudden the boring company is out.
As soon as someone
it's
tells me that
already
they don't
halfway
have
done.
enough time in the day, I'm like, because like, honestly, like I have enough time to sit here right now podcasting, and I have a lot going on in my life business wise. But like ultimately, the people that don't have time in the day are Elon Musk, and maybe 3 other people.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bezos has time in the day. He's got money in the bank for fucking days.
Yeah, well, you mean forever?
He actually couldn't burn through money fast enough to like
Go broke.
Yeah, because his stocks are going up so fast, and like his investments are going up so fast that like
$10 billion
can't spend-
I think he
yacht
honestly
doesn't
could
exist.
spend like over $1 million a day without it really like making it a marginal dent.
I wonder what he's going to
pretty
buy
sure
a country.
I'm pretty sure he makes like well over like $500,000 an hour.
Yeah, something
Personally.
like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's almost $1 million. I think I looked it up like 2 weeks ago. It's like almost $1 million an hour he makes.
It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, but
like-
how scary would that be for him if his wife actually is the real reason that like that company is like up where it is, and like now he's sitting there like, well, I just lost my Steve Jobs.
Oh, he's still making money. He's fine.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying like, because how much is he making?
$9 million an hour.
Whoa. I was
What?
Per hour. He makes a whopping $8.9 million.
Okay.
Wow,
That's
I was
roughly
really
300
far off.
315 times. Oh, no. It says per hour, comma, he makes a whopping $9 million. And then it says roughly 315 times the 28,000 median annual worker pay. Oh, no. So it says per hour, and it says that that's the annual. So he's making 315 times the average annual salary
In an hour.
in an hour. Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I give.
Got a
Let's do the
button for
math.
that.
So how much would he be making?
Good for you, Jeff Bezos. Good for you.
I will say that I understand that tax evasion and things like that, the borderline of tax evasion, is something that some companies sort of have to do in order to grow, and that it kind of exists in the economy and things like that. But that being said,
Well, you know
your
what?
fucking taxes.
I think if I can't get political on this because I'm a part of a liberal school.
Uh-huh.
I'm libertarian, and if I get too political on things like this, I just I'd rather not go there.
Yeah,
but like,
hey, no, absolutely.
I'd rather table that.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I will say that I get why people do it. It's definitely something that should be explored more, and looked at from a bipartisan effort rather than let's tax everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's definitely something that needs to be done
Right.
about it, but I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh, no,
not sure who's
hell
the
no, I
right
don't
person
know.
to address it either, though, because
Not me.
we can't let them self-regulate that. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
anyways,
It was the only.
I just tabled that and then brought it right back into course. I was like, "Meh, okay, back onto the conversation table.
Well, and the only reason I even brought it up is I saw one headline about them not paying taxes on them.
Oh no, that's the really tricky part. I think everyone agrees that their employees are kind of shafted. Where it's okay, you probably really don't have time to go to the bathroom. That's a problem.
Actually, I've heard
because they're on the clock and they get penalized, and then sounds like they don't even make it to the point where they're going to start making company benefits. They get statistically they get fired before they are there long enough to have
Well,
those
they've got
benefits.
the algorithms to figure out when's the best to fire who, probably.
Exactly, probably even just down to the hour. I mean, even the analytics or metadata of that person of hey, they watch a lot of rage videos. We should probably tell them on Friday. So maybe everyone's already gone. We're not messing up morale. They're gonna really have an outburst.
Right. And I think to steer slightly away from the political, but still interesting things about. Well, I was going to say interesting things about Amazon, but it kind of links into Neuralink. But if you want to stay on,
let's do a Elon
entrepreneurship.
Musk podcast separately, and I guess let's wrap up this entrepreneur segment. And I guess to wrap it up, what would you say are the overall struggles as an entrepreneur you faced, and some of the glory moments, maybe advice to your younger self or other younger people that are going to be an entrepreneur or thinking about being an entrepreneur?
Okay, I'll try to take these one at a time. I think.
Yeah, I kind of just threw a bunch at you there.
No, it's okay. I got bullets. So, struggles and failures. I think it's a constant struggle and failure. When you're an entrepreneur, you're not dealing with, oh shit, I have to get up at X and so time, or I got scheduled for this many doubles. That's not really what you deal with. You deal with I have, short deadlines on 5 projects right now, and then for 3 months you have none. And so there's this high risk, high reward. That's a struggle literally just on your body.
Yeah, every day.
Mental and physical impact is legitimate. It's real. I think my personal biggest struggle is consistency and self-discipline, because I wake up, my office is in my room.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man. That's a really hard one.
That is one of the biggest struggles.
It's absolutely way harder than I would have ever thought, and that anybody
I don't think I would get anything done if I had a massive workshop connected to my house, because I would just go back into my house.
Right, because you're right there. It's I mean, I can get distracted just going to go eat. It's not, there's, if I had if and when I guess I have a sort of a storefront or a place that I go, then you go and you clock in. When you're there, you're there. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurial sort of, or there's at least a little bit of a stereotype or a trend that those people have a little bit of ADHD. The impulsivity, the high risk, high reward. They all make sense with entrepreneurship, and there's plenty of connections linked to that, statistically. But yeah, so that honestly, when you're starting out, especially when you don't have the ability to divvy up your different amount of time and spaces, I think that's really one of the biggest struggles once you're really in it. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of struggles. There's countless struggles. You're dealing with all the struggles of a normal company, basically.
But by yourself.
But by yourself. So that's a big struggle. But I think moments of success are absolutely euphoric. I mean, when you book that big gig, I can be off the wall with adrenaline for 2 days straight. I mean, I've had the pleasure for shooting for Ford, and now Warner Bros. Owns 15 of my photos. Yeah. And that was absolutely, I mean, I was euphoric, and that would be an example of, a big moment of success for somebody in my field. And I mean, I don't know how you could feel that way in another company unless you were leading a project for
Absolutely.
years. That you were
have to be
leading
attached to a project for a very long time and be really high up there to have something more than like, oh, I did the steering wheel,
And those in a normal company can get scrapped out of your control at any time. So
and very unlikely to you be even able to show it in your portfolio.
Mm-hmm. So I think moments of success are absolutely euphoric, and I think that's probably my biggest success. I think is having photos actually like owned by Warner Bros. Like I can post them for my own content essentially, but I literally have to put
Warner Bros.
Owned by an entire CC line and everything.
Yeah.
So
that's rad.
It's one of my biggest successes, like I said. But I think advice to others and the younger me. I mean, the younger me kind of fell onto this a little bit because I don't really enter into a lot of contests or things like that. I definitely think that you should do that, especially with bigger brands, and don't set your sights too low.
Yeah.
Because I was shooting with a kit camera and a kit lens, and I submitted photos to Red Bull, and that was the biggest thing. And that's my biggest advice to somebody who's starting out, especially in my field.
Just do it.
Nail your biggest client. Pull as hard as you can. For as soon as you have one big client, that will doors will fly open. Like if you have a big client, especially if it's somebody like Red Bull or an automaker, it's something that everybody knows. Like
a brand name.
It could be Yahoo. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, just a major brand name, and people like. I cannot tell you how many
that brand
times
recognition
people just say,
in your portfolio is huge.
And then once you get that, you can't be like brandishing isn't quite the right word, but you can't be throwing it everywhere and being a
exactly.
dick about it. But
it's the awkward thing with like some of my product design stuff. There's certain clients where it's like I've done more at smaller companies, but because of that product genre or whatever, it's like I don't really want to talk about that. But versus like where it's like I've done little at some bigger companies, people drool at that and they're like, oh, you did what, where? Mm-hmm. And it's like,
and so it really is all about who who you've worked for. That's my biggest advice to somebody who's starting out in it. I was fortunate enough to be able to learn that while I was still in college and didn't have a huge risk involved at the time. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, if you push really hard to perfect your task, and it doesn't matter if you're not getting any exposure for a long period of time, if you build a consistent and curated content base,
then you're good.
When when it happens, you're golden. And I mean, I know people who make shitloads of money doing the same type of thing or entrepreneurial, but they've got 4,000 followers on Instagram or something, and you would never know because in today's day and age, you feel like you have to have million fans.
There's that girl that had like 1 million followers and couldn't sell a t-shirt.
Right, and
she literally didn't sell one.
Mm-hmm. And there's somebody who shoots for Hollywood who A, doesn't give a shit, and B, could never run an Instagram.
Yeah.
But
because they're like so introverts and they're like, I don't care, but like yet they shoot for like every celebrity possible.
Exactly. So the social is a big deal, but don't put everything into it. Don't put your self-worth into it. If you have a big one, you could probably put your self-worth into it and keep going, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's my best advice is work hard, get a little bit of a base so that you can show people what you do when you do it, and then just enjoy the ride. I mean, and when you're going through a bunch of shit, just know that it's worth the storms come and go. It's
exactly.
a thunderstorm. So
to not to cut you short, Peter, you got any last words? A little bit more brief. But
summed up a lot.
I carried it off.
Most people just like
it's no worries, man. It's no worries. There's some sails that still need some wind.
Yeah, exactly.
No, if you want to do something, you should just go out and do it.
Yeah.
Figure out how to do it along the way. That's how I think about it. Because like,
is that what you relate to TikTok?
Yeah, just if you want a famous TikTok, just post on TikTok till it happens. One day it'll happen.
Yeah, but
no, but for real though, if you want to do something you're passionate about, it just keep at it and keep going. Like, I didn't get my first sale for the first 2 months. I mean, you just got to keep going. You just don't give up.
Yep.
Yeah. And I agree with all of that. And the one thing that I really will add is invest in yourself, invest in your future, and really map things out. Like I could not tell you how important having a daily task list, a journal, so to speak.
I do it every day. Every morning.
I go through one probably every month of rather than just losing a thought, you have it there, and you're going to go back to that idea, and it's going to turn into something better later. But also, you can keep track of everything that you need to get done that day, rather than losing track of it, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't call you, I forgot. You're not going to lose track of that client's timeline or your goal to what you want to be doing. So beyond having a daily kind of like notebook or kind of checklist, you also need to have a what I kind of call like a long haul notebook or like roadmap. And I have 1 to 5 years and then 5 to 10 years. And my 5 to 10 years is obviously a little bit more abstract. But my 1 to 5 is like down to the bullet. And sometimes you're a little bit behind schedule in certain items, but then you actually like are much farther forward on other task sets. But it's important to understand where you're going and what steps you need to kind of have and micro successes to have along the way. Because if you just have one success like far away, years away, you're going to be burned out by then. If you want to be a successful YouTuber, like, you know, most eighth graders right now or whatever, you know, get that first 100, get the first 150. That's what I'm doing right now. I mean, statistically speaking, it seems to be harder to get past the first 1,000 than the first 1,000 to 10,000. So with that being said, plan it out, have a map for it, and
Win the day.
Yeah,
Like you said with the journal.
Yeah,
You
have
go
a map
through
for
your
your day, have a map for your month. Like, really understand that time is the one thing that you're really not getting back. It's the one thing that you don't know how much you have. You will always have an abstract understanding of your life expectancy, and that's not to be bleak or whatever. It's just you don't know what, like, it's just a fact. Life is a roll of the dice, and you want to try to be in it for as long as you can and live as best as you can. So invest in yourself, invest in real estate. They're not making more of it. It's similar to time, where you can't get more of it. Real estate, there's not more land. Until we get outwards to space and Elon Musk owns all of it, and then he has a global war with the United States, probably.
Oh boy.
Like, I mean, whoever grabs it first.
Yeah.
But for the time being, on the continental United States, land is probably the best thing that you can invest in, other than investing in yourself and knowledge base and understanding what's around you. So with that being said, if you've made it to this point, us three, we applaud you. We thank you. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so you can stay up to date with the next podcast. And when we have a full-on title, we'll probably move this off to a new channel, and I'll grow my channel with this growing simultaneously and see how that goes. Yep. But and for the time being, you can find this podcast at Conor Ahearn on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be going to iTunes and Spotify and all those podcasting resources soon. Yeah. So again, you can find me at Conor Ahearn on all social media. Peter, what about you?
Find me at Peter Calcaterra on all social medias.
COSKARLI on Instagram, and basically I don't give out my Facebook. And
yeah. You're
launching some other stuff.
Yeah.
I sound
Christian's
like the least
a little bit more
person here.
like you're just a little bit more secretive. Like
That's all right.
You might find where I live, but have fun dealing with me.
Right.
So so anyways, hope to catch you next time, and we're gonna actually sit down and record the next podcast right now. So see you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.
Nice.
Let's take a little break. Let the camera recharge.
Absolutely.